And this is what it means that he takes out in counting their hosts. That is through the 10 spheros. It's drawn down that these creations should be counted vigvul v'tachlis in defined and with boundary. Like it is in the Mamar about the life of Sarah was 100 years and so forth. Kihine antu chad lo b'chushban. We say that you are one, but not with accounting. Antu dafikas eser tikunin. That you are the one who brings out 10 tikunin. Vikarinalon eser sfiran. 10 jewelry, 10 pieces of jewelry, so to speak, and we call them the 10 spheros. Kihine, maybe better to translate 10 accessories. We call them 10 spheros. Kihine esher spheros hem gam kinurak bechinas kelim, because these 10 spheros are only vessels, elashein bechinas behirus, but they are very bright. But they're not comparable to the infinite may be blessed. And this is the idea of your wonders and your thoughts are towards us. But to you, there's no comparison. Like it's brought in the Mamar of Vayad Yisrael. And this that's drawn down 10 spheros, this is because that's what came up into Hashem's will. But in front of the essence, may be blessed, in front of one, before the counting of the first sphera, before any counting, before any concepts of counting, what can you count? And the idea of Keser is this go-between that unites the infinite to the 10 spheros. The V'yeshbo Shnei Bechinos, and the Keser has two concepts. Hainu Bechinas Bechina Tachtona Shebemaitzel has the lower level of the emanator. V'shorish and Netzalim. Keser is Hashem, the essence, expressing itself, and also it's the source of the emanated. So Keser has these two ideas in it. Mitzad Pnimiu, so Shu Bechina Tachtona Shebemaitzel Amar Chad V'lo B'chushban Chulu, and on the inner concept, which is the lower level of the emanator, it says about that level that he's one without accounting, Hulu, Pasha Betachlis, and simple in the ultimate of simplicity. So this, that it's drawn many creations from this, it's because it comes through the 10 spheros. Like it says, how what a multitude of acts do you have, Hashem? You've made them all with wisdom, and so forth. That they all came through the 10 spheres. That start with Chachma. In that Mamar. Because from wisdom is drawn through the attributes, the kindness on the right side is like the right hand, like the right arm, and strictness is like Dura Smala, the left arm. Shein Bechinas Mechulakos Vishonos. They're two different concepts. V'tiferes Machria Benatayim, and the Tiferes is a in between the two. And therefore, the spheros are called, in a language of accounting, of a number, Shaharehen Bechinas Shonos, because they're different ideas. Shipol Aleina Mispar, so you could count them. Chesed Bechina Achas, that kindness is one concept. Gvura Bechina Shenis Chulu, and strictness is a second idea. And from the combining the 6 sides that the spheros are drawn out towards, the 6 dimensions up and down and right and left and forward and back. So from the combination of the diagonals, you have 12 diagonals. So it's another definition of counting. And so from this is drawn the multitude and division of the creations. Like from kindness is drawn light and water and so forth. And from the strictness comes the let there be a firmament and so forth. So to the 7 moving stars, the 7 planets, they're rooted in the 7 attributes, and so forth. And the 12, the division of the heavens into 12 astrological signs is drawn from the 12 diagonals. Like the Pardes brings in Yud Beis Gvulei Alochson about these 12 boundaries of diagonal. That corresponding to this, you have the 12 astrological signs and the 12 months of the year. So to 12 strengths in the soul, and there come from the year, which is space, Vishana, and the year. Olam is the place, the world. Shana is the year, and Nefesh is the soul. So you have space and time and soul. Like from Sefer Yetzirah V'Simanecha Ashan, and the siman is Olam Shana Nefesh Ashan. K'moshikosu b'Sefer Yetzirah Kan Lashona. That's the end of the quote from the Pardes. V'zeu ki eresh hamecha ma'aseh etzbeotzecha. And this is like it says, when I see your heavens, the works of your fingers, k'mo hamechalek davar or kosev osios shonim, like someone who divides something or writes different letters, different letters one from the other, shu'al yidei hatzpos, that it's the fingers that divide that divide it. And they're the 10 spheros. They're in the number of 10 fingers. That the spheros are the source of the concept of division within creation. That how Hashem divides things. Hamotzi b'mispar. He takes out number. Shesibos his chalkus v'riboyen Ivrahim ein sof baruch hu apashut. That the source of the vision of the many creations from the infinite may be blessed. That's simple in unity. The is through it being drawn down through the 10 spheros and bechinos shonos, which are different ideas, different concepts. The strict, the kindness and strength, and the inclusion of things into 12 boundaries of diagonal. From this is drawn the 12 astrological signs, the division of the heavens. And look in the Mamar, and also in the Mamar on Shemos. Now in the Zohar, in the Akdama, brings with a number of 600,000 that are standing as one. And they bring out soldiers or hosts, multitudes to their sides, without counting. And the Hadaras Melech explains that the 600,000 that refers to the six sides from Zir Anpin, and the soldiers, or the strengths that come from it, all the multitudes are all the other creations that are drawn from this idea of the division of the six midos, from the 600,000 that comes from them. And this is like it's brought in another place. On the verse, our master is great, and Rav Koach, and he has and he has great strength. Litfunas, or in Mispar, and to his wisdom there is no counting. That our sages said that the 1,000 thousands, that's the count, that's the number of one group of angels. Lugedudav in Mispar, but to the number of Gedudim, the number of groups, there's no counting. So and that's what our sages said about that verse. That each Gedud, each group of Malachim, is drawn from one particular attribute, from the six sides of Zir Anpin, that get included one with the other, like kindness of strictness and so forth. And from this group, an attribute, when it's drawn down through the speech, Malchus, which is Malchus, so this is created from this source, 1,000 angels and so forth. And what does it mean to the groups of angels? There's no counting. So it's similar to the idea of how to his wisdom there's no counting in Atzilus. That in the Atzilus you can have the inclusion of these midos infinitely. So if each one of these gedudim comes from the source in Atzilus of a midah, but in Atzilus there's no end to the combinations, and so there will be no end to the gedudim that come out from them as well. Even if as they are in Biyah, they're more confined, but as they are in Atzilus, there's no counting. Because in Atzilus, the lights, he and his vessels are one. So they're in a state of infinity without counting. The level of without counting. Or you can say the concept of that there's no number is like the idea of how they will go from strength to strength. That there's elevations without end in the concept of these attributes. And look what it says in the Shalah. And this is that he gives a number to the stars. And like it's brought in the Zohar, that the concept of the counting, which is Zir Anpin, like we said, Vav Ksavos, the six sides, that's what counts the stars and so forth. That Zir Anpin is called the number from the reason we said Shema Midos, which are the attributes. that they're divided into concepts of kindness and strictness and so forth. And they become united one with the other. And it becomes the number 600,000. And from this is drawn down the flow below to the stars, which are the hosts of heaven. So from the source of these supernal attributes and division, the very source of division above, so then you have that creates the division below in the heavens. And we can say why specifically that he brings out stars. That it's brought in Bamidbar Rabbah, that we're compared to stars, that he compares them to stars, that the moon will whiten with embarrassment, and the sun will be embarrassed. But the stars are not going to be embarrassed, or do not get embarrassed. And that's because the stars are nirim ketanim biyoser. We see them as very small, so they're a concept of humility. And it's a concept of I am small from all of the kindnesses. Because anything closer to Hashem realizes how more insignificant it is. And therefore this is the stars which are in the eighth heaven, the eighth firmament, beyond the planets, Shubina Almadiskatya, which corresponds with the concept of Bina, the hidden world, Yinisham Lamaila Hayesh Lamata Ayin. There, in that state, there's a recognition of how above is the true existence, and below is incomparable. Alkenhim Ktanim Kulu, therefore they're small. Mash'enkin Chamo Levana Zachar V'Nukva Mislabshim B'Yitzira V'Asiya, which is not the case with the sun and the moon, the masculine and the feminine concept, that are enclosed in the lower worlds of Bria Yitzira. So Bina corresponds with the Kisei, the concept of Bria, so that corresponds in general in the physical world with the Rakiyat Minah, with the eighth firmament, which is where the stars are, and the sun and the moon correspond with the worlds of Yitzira and Asiya that are lower than that. So because they're further away from their source, Nirim Gedolim, they seem big. And that's the concept of greater vessels, bigger vessels. And from that state, it comes that you should see the what's below to be more existent and what's above to be less existent. The ayin. And there's a nurturance to Esav, who's her firstborn. So the Bina, the mother, is the concept of the mother, and Esav is the concept of the child. That here we're talking about the creation of division, and perhaps even Klippa within creation. And so as you get further away from Hashem, you get closer to the concept of hiding Hashem, and Esav is like the firstborn. And look what it says in Zohar and Bekudei about anybody who adds is actually taking away. Anytime you recognize an existence below as more, so you're actually taking away from the true existence and the recognition of the true state of things, how the above is the true existence. Or Parshas Noach, look in Torah or about how in the pasuk in Shir of how we have a small sister, that when you have a small achos, when you want to have a closeness, you have to be small. And therefore, in the time to come when Hashem's honor will be revealed, therefore the sun and the moon and the sun and the moon are going to be embarrassed. That from them, from their concept is drawn down the concept of existence and something separate, which is not the case with the stars. That the stars are more bottled. They more show the stars show an idea of being humble in front of the infinite, whereas the sun and the moon, they represent an idea of something that, so to speak, tries to exist on its own and denies more the what's above. Therefore, they'll be embarrassed in the time to come when it will be recognized the truth. And therefore, it's mentioned by the stars that he counts the stars. That the number is the importance. That common, like we'll say later, that what that you count, it's because it's important. So the stars, because they're at a high level, they're more nullified, they're more humble, therefore they get to be counted. Like we'll say later, something, there's an idea in Torah of something that you usually count. That that's something that has an importance to it, that you count it. That through this, each one, none of them will be lacking chulu, meaning to say that none of the stars are missing, but also it's because their humility, so they have a strength to their existence in the fact that they recognize what's above, and they do not contradict the idea of their nullification, and so forth. So to the children of Yaakov are compared to stars, and this is why that tzaddikim of the many are like stars. But in the time to come, and look in Medrash Rabbah, how in the time to come Hashem is going to give over to them everything. And it brings this verse that the wise will shine like the brightness of heaven, and then the and the righteous of the many are like stars. That everything is given over to them. That is this concept as well. That just like the kuchavim are counted, and because of their humility, so to the tzaddikim have this humility as well, and how small they are, and therefore they're going to be counted, and they're meaning to say that they're going to be recognized, their chashivus, and how close they are to Hashem, and they're going to be given the revelation. And this that it says in Me'ori Or, that Mispar corresponds with the concept of Das. Why Das? Because Das includes in it 5 kindnesses and 5 strictnesses. So even though it's still in a concept of intellect, it still is the source for the definition of kindness and strictness and division. That from them comes the concept of counting in general, and division, to many levels. But the main concept of mispar is in Malchus, even though the Me'ori Or says it's in Das. It's only because it's the source of the division in the midos. Kitzer, Inyan b'mispar vav tzavos, the concept of the counting of the 6 sides, v'adas, and the concept of das as the number is chalkim l'samech ribo, and it's how it's divided into 600,000. Mikol echad misamech ribo hanal nimshech al-yedei adibur gidud echad, and from each one of these sources in the 600,000, is drawn down through the supernal speech. Gedud echad, one group of malachim, elef alafim mispar gedud echad, which is 1,000 thousands, which is the number of one group. V'zeu mona mispar, and this is that he counts. Shuzah mona el-kochavim zir anpin, counts the stars that from Zer Ampin, which is the concept of the midos, the source of division. That's how you count. That's where the counting comes from. And the concept of how the groups there's no end to them, and how the wisdom there's no end to them. That is the how in Atzilus, which is the Shoresh. Over there's no division. There's no true division, because you have an infinite. You have the infinite. Light and clothed within Atzilus, therefore there's no division as it is in this Shoresh and Atzilus, but as it comes out into the lower worlds, so then it becomes a division.